But most of Hindu Tantra, Shaiva Tantra, and the female deity called Shakti is female deities, Tantra, they are all non-dualistic. And this is the process of experience in the non-dualistic systems. Now it's very interesting, the Sufi saint Al-Mansur said almost the same thing. Haq is truth, means the truth. It is the name of Allah, right? And this is the word that has trickled down even into Nepali. Haq means right in Nepali, my right. And Mansur said, Hu al-Haq, I am the slave of Allah. Then An al-Haq, I am Allah, the same as Allah. And then Haq, only Allah. It's exactly the same. The only difference is in the Abrahamic religious system, this is considered as heretic, unfortunately. And Mansur was crucified for it, put on the stake for it. And he was a famous man, he was a great man. They called him to the court and they said, withdraw this statement and we'll leave you. And he said, how can I withdraw the truth? This is the truth. So then they had to put him in the stake, and he was impaled. That's the English word, I think, impaled. And but here in India, such people were idolized. They were considered as great gurus and so on. So this continued, very rich tradition in the Indian subcontinent. In Islam, in Sufism, this is like, Sufism is a small branch of Islam, and they have to be secretive sometimes, many places and so on. But then you go to Christianity, again, the church was not so lenient on people who talked like this, that I am Christ, and so on kind of thing. But there are tidbits of experience like that. Teilhard de Chardin, a French 19th century mystic, said, the more I know Christ, the more I become Christ. Of course, the church asked him to shut up. And then Meister Eckhart, 11th century, said that, and there is only Christ, there is no me, And in a way, he went one step further. When there is no me, how can there be Christ? he put that. And of course, he was also asked to shut up, He was also, so this, but then they're all theistic religion. So if they go in meditation of Christ or Krishna or Kali or whatever, or Allah, the process seems to be the same, going towards the same thing. But Buddhist meditation is not like that. So Buddhist Tantra is not like that. It is not just repeating the mantra of the deity over and over again until you become one with the deity and then dissolve into the deity. This is more related to alchemical process, where the nature of mind is recognized first, and then you use that to transform your kleshas, emotional defilements, and ignorance, penetrate through your ignorance. So these are major difference between Hindu Tantra and Buddhist Tantra. No Hindu Tantra has this kind of thing. But India is a very complex creature, because Buddhism was in the Indian subcontinent for almost 1700 years. And the majority were Buddhists. Probably from 60 to 75% of the Indian subcontinent was Buddhist. And 75% of Asia was Buddhist. And because of that, the remnants of Buddhism has trickled down into Hindu Tantra, Hindu other systems also. For example, the Natha system, you've heard of the Nathas, 200 years ago, they didn't call themselves Hindus. Because after all, they come from the 84 Mahasiddhas. But their teachings and so on gradually got Hinduized, and they even lost the Buddhist teachings of all these masters. For example, they have the names, it's the same name, Sarapa, Virupa, Naropa, same names. But they don't have any teachings of Naropa or Sarapa or Tilopa or any of those, or Sara's Doha, But Sara was the first man in the Indian subcontinent who sang dohas. to teach. And like centuries after, like even as late as 17th, 18th, 15th, 16th century, Kabir sang dohas. And in his dohas, if you read, you can easily be fooled. Is he talking about Buddhist things? But he isn't, because there is ultimately an ultimate reality behind. And it is not empty. That is the difference. They lost emptiness through the centuries. And so if you compare some of Kabir's doha, you think it is Sara singing it. But if you analyze it, you find some things missing. Some things are missing. So like this, there are Bahul. Bahul is, Vajrayana has what is called crazy wisdom, right? Crazy is Baula in Nepali. Baula means crazy. I think it's Parsi also, right? Yeah. And in Bengal, there is the Bahul school, but it is Hindu school. They've taken the concept of crazy wisdom from Vajrayana through the centuries and integrated it into Hindu ideas. India has many schools which came down through the centuries, mixed up with Buddhism, but still retain Hindu theistic concepts and those kind of things. And that is what people get confused with. Because they think it's the same words are used. Sahaja, I use the word Sahaja Gyan. There is a whole school in the Bengal area called Sahajya. So Sahajya and so on. But what they do, what they practice is very different. It has nothing to do with Vajrayana or related to Vajrayana views and so on. Vajrayana, its view is very Buddhist. It can be its view can be as strong as Theravada. Theravada, in the Theravada texts, you find the seed of Vajrayana. As we know, all of you have been initiated into Vajrayana and so on. You people here, it's the nature of mind is a luminous mind and so on. You find these words in Theravada. There is a sutta. Sutta is the Pali for sutra. There is a sutta which is in Anguttara Nikaya, Anuttarya Vaggo, Udayi Sutta. Udayi means the person to whom the Buddha was talking. And he says, Sa-pabhasa chittam, the mind with luminosity, bhavetiti, meditate on. Anusati thanena. Anusati is the Pali word for anusmriti in Sanskrit, means mindfulness, a place of mindfulness. Bahuli kitam, bahuli katam. Bahuli katam means repeating again and again and again. Yana darsana. Yana means jnana, wisdom and realization. Darshan means seeing. Patilava sambatiti means you can attain enlightenment. This is found in the Pali tradition itself, Theravada. But there are no Theravada teachers who know what this is about. I've met many in Thailand, asked many teachers, they have no idea what this meditation is about. But this is the root of Vajrayana, right? Then emptiness, is very strong in Mahayana, all forms of Mahayana, and in Vajrayana, emptiness is also very strong. This is not found in Hindu Tantra or any form of Hinduism. Now, in later centuries, probably after the 12th, 13th century, there were texts like Avadhut Gita, Astavakra Gita and so on, where they use the word shunya, which means empty, but the meaning of that emptiness is not what we Buddhists mean by emptiness. It's different. Because the word empty, even in English, can mean many things. This room is empty. That is not the emptiness of Vajrayana also, that this room is empty. So even though the word shunya comes in, and also Hinduism is very integrative. I don't know whether that's a good trait or a bad trait, but it takes things from all over and then tries to integrate it into one, So you find in what is called the Astavakra, Yoga Vasishta, where there's a verse saying the Shunyata of the Madhyamika, the Chittamatra of the Yogachara, and the Brahma of Vedanta is the same. means that they haven't understood the shunyata, emptiness of the madhyamik. They haven't understood the mind only of the mind only school. They just put those words and say it's the same. So this is an integrative tradition. The Hinduism is very, very, very integrative. Whatever arrives into Indian subcontinent, they kind of slowly absorb it. And in the 19th century, there was a debate with a famous scholar called Dayananda Swami, and the 300 orthodox pandits means scholars of Kashi. Kashi is the center of Hinduism, and it's very interesting. These 300 scholars were not confident they could defeat this one man, So they had slyly hired goons, in case we begin to lose, then we'll give the sign, then you create big ruckus there so that the debate will be dissolved, without them announcing that they lost. So they did that. In the debate, a very interesting thing was said. Dayananda Swami said, you guys are picking up things from all over the place and attaching it to Veda and calling it Hinduism, And he brought out the text, Allah Upanishad, Allah Upanishad. And he said, how can there be Allah Upanishad in the Vedas? In the Vedas, you even have an Upanishad called Allah Upanishad. This is the tendency of Hinduism. And that's why when you go to Hinduism, you get very mixed up. A lot of things look exactly like Buddhism, A lot of things look exactly like Christianity, And everything seems to be coming over there. And that's why many Indians just claim that everything began from the Vedas, just started from the Vedas and so on. So the Tantra, Hindu Tantra, only the name Tantra is the same. But even the way it is used is different. Tantra in Hinduism is practice. In Buddhism, Tantrayana is the practice. Tantra is the text book, not the practice. The textbook is called Tantra and the practice is called Tantrayana. Then in definition, the Hindu Tantra, there are many definitions. We can't go through all of them. I don't know all of them either, actually. But one definition that I learned from my mentor, the Hindu Tantra mentor long time ago when I was just 22, 23 years old, is that Tananat Trayate iti Tantra. And Tananat means stressing, pulling, increasing, pulling, spreading, In Nepali, the word is tannu, tananat, Tannu means pull, like rubber thing, you stretch it, stretch it. And stretching the little self into the infinite Brahma, And Trayate means liberating, So it is very strongly based on theistic concept of dissolving yourself into God, Now, Buddhist Tantra definition, there's a definition, again in Buddhist Tantra there are many definitions, but the basic definition is the same, and I'll use one of them. This is the commentary called Gunavati Tika of Mahamaya Tantra text, and it says, Pravandam, Tantram iti Pravandam. Tantra is Pravanda. Pravanda means continuity. Pravanda, Sanskrit is a rich word, a rich language. One word can have many meanings, and that's what gets people confused. Then it goes on to say, Tantram iti Tantram, Trividam iti Tantram. Tantra is of three kinds. What are the three kinds? Hetu Tantra. Hetu means cause Tantra. Upaya Tantra means skillful means Tantra. And Phal Tantra means fruit Tantra. The three. And what are they? Then it goes on to say, Sa, that. Sa means that. Prakriti Prabhaswaram. By nature, luminous. Anadi Nidhanam. Beginningless and endless. Chittam, mind. So, and Bodhicittam, that is called Bodhicitta. So, the mind, the luminous mind, that is beginningless, by nature luminous, beginningless, endless, and also called Bodhicitta. That mind, Sa hetus tat bijam, that is the cause Tantra, that is the seed. which means the nature of mind, right? So it is the continuity of the nature of mind that is meant by Tantra. That is the meaning of Tantra is continuum. That is why it is translated into Tibetan as Jew. Jew means continuum. Continuum. So even the definition is very different. And that is a major difference between Hindu Tantra and Buddhist Tantra. Even though both grew up in the Indian subcontinent and they interacted with each other for sure. And mostly, as I said, mostly it's a Hindu Tantra that is derived from Buddhist Tantra and then Hinduized. A lot of things were taken, like this in Hinduism, a lot of things were taken from Buddhism. For example, around the 1st century, Patanjali made the Patanjali Sutra, which is very famous in the yoga tradition, and it is called Ashtangik Marga, exact the eightfold path of the Buddha, the same word. And you find Buddhist words strewn all over the place, words that were not used in Hinduism before that, like Chatur Brahma Bihar, the 4 immeasurables. Even to date, no Hindu commentator understands what this 4 immeasurable is, and you have all sorts of weird commentaries on them. But the word Chatur Brahma Bihar is used in Buddhism from the time of the Buddha. The Buddha himself used it, and it means the 4 immeasurable loving kindness and so on, Maitri, Karuna and so on, like that. So this is how it has seeped in, and that confuses a lot of people. But if you understand that Buddhism is strongly non-theistic, every form of Buddhism, sometimes, like for example, people may worship Amitabha, like or worshipping a god, but still the long-term goal is to go where Amitabha is and then practice Buddhism and become enlightened there. It's not like go to eternal kingdom of heaven, and be there forever, eternally there. Or in Hinduism, you have Vaikuntha, Golok, all these different, where if you worship Krishna, you will go to Golok. I'm sure you will go to Golok. If you worship Krishna all your life, you will go. But to Buddhism, that is a waste of time. If you want to become a Buddha, if you want to become liberated, and if you want to become ultimately enlightened, it is a waste of time. Of course, here in Christianity, the kingdom of heaven is eternal. In Buddhism, nothing is eternal. There's a big difference there. You go to the kingdom of heaven if you're a good Christian, but you won't live there for eternally. You may live there for 80,000 kalpas, but one day 80,000 kalpas will go like that. Then you come back again in the cycle. That is a major difference in the view, the way you think about what things are, how things are, and so on. So that is Buddhist Tantra. To practice it, you need to get an empowerment from an authentic master. Again, authentic master means somebody that comes from an unbroken enlightened lineage. This is a very important, crucial factor in all forms of Buddhism, in Zen, in Vajrayana, that the master be authentic. But what do you mean by authentic? Authentic means he comes from an unbroken enlightened lineage. His master comes from an unbroken enlightened lineage, his master comes from, and so on right through the centuries. And each generation has shown enlightened activity, especially at the point of death. At the point of death, it is in Vajrayana is considered very, 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 very important. This concept is found in Hinduism also, but it has died out. That if a yogi is enlightened, he should die like this. He should not just plop like an ordinary person, ordinary person, and his body swells up and starts stinking and rigor mortis immediately. This concept is found in Hinduism, but it has died out. Very few Hindus know it, because like last couple of centuries, we haven't found any Hindu masters going like that. So it has died out. But in Vajrayana, in Zen, it is still strong. And I'm sure you know, you guys have already been reading a lot of Vajrayana texts and so on, so you know that even the masters, just one generation before that, hundreds and hundreds of masters were left like that, right? Not just one or two, few cases here and there. My own master, my main root master, root guru, stayed 17 days like that. Another of my guru, Vajrayana Rinpoche, who is also Joe's guru, stayed 3.5 or something days like that. Another master in Dolpo. Dolpo is Nepal, not Tibet. But the people there are like Tibetan. They are Nepalese citizens, but by ethnic they are Tibetan. So we went there. That's far off, really far off into the remote areas of Nepal, because even after we flew into the remote corner, we had to walk about 10 days deep into the mountains, deep into the mountains, and we were like just next to there was only one mountain separating us and Tibet, and he passed away 10 days like that. In fact, I had asked before he passed away to call one of his disciples. Then he took his last breath and he remained. And mountain region, there are no cars or planes or those kind of things. So it takes days to come to from one place to other. So this disciple took 10 days to come there. And when he entered the room, then the master's head went like this. So he waited exactly 10 days until the person came there. And so these are enlightened manifestation. And then when they die, when they are cremated, again, what are called ring cell in Tibetan, sharir dhatu in Sanskrit are found. For example, pearl-like things, jewel-like things, mustard seeds size jewel-like things, many things like that. Also bones, the mantras written in the bones, Om Mani Padme Hum or whatever in the skull, if part of the skull. And for example, the brain, the eyes, the tongue and the heart fuse together and remain. Everything is in ash, but those three are still there. His was like that, like the heart. This is I means body, tongue is speech, and heart is mind. So body, speech, and mind, all three are one. And it is there. It was encased in the big stupa that was recently inaugurated here. And I saw it myself. And many other things like that. And these ring cells also, if you take it, this is from the time of Buddha itself. This happened to the Buddha also. Ring cells, sharir dhatus all appeared, and the kings took nine kings took them to their places and created stupa. King Ashok opened up the stupa and brought them out. How was he able to bring them out? Because they multiply. So if you take one and keep it with yourself and keep it in your shrine room and encased, and after 6 months or 1 year you open, you'll find 3 or 4. And if you have no faith, then it vanishes. These are signs of an enlightened lineage. And if there's a Tibetan saying, a famous guru, famous scholar, but at the time of death an ordinary corpse. This does not happen to an enlightened being. So all these are still running in Vajrayana. And of course this is just one way. When you sit like this and meditate and stay like this for 7 days, 3 days, 17 days, no breathing and so on, is one way. There are many other ways in Vajrayana. One of them is what is called the illusory body, Maya Deha, where the body becomes like a 16-year-old and remains like that for thousands of years. And His Holiness Dujam Rinpoche's body is like that, encased in Tusal here. And the 6th century, there was a man called Lila Vajra, who was an enlightened Nepali Mahasiddha, who also taught in Nalanda. And he was practicing what is called the Father Tantra, and the result of Father Tantra is the illusory body, And he went into his private room, locked it up, and he never came out. And like almost, that's the 6th century, 1400 years afterwards, there was this huge earthquake, the one before this, and the monastery where he went inside collapsed, and the army was sent out, and my own family, the Rana family, were ruling then, so they sent out the army, and the army were digging around, and they found a man sitting like this. So they didn't know what it was, so they called the Newar Bhattacharyas and asked them, what is this and what should we do? And they consulted, they thought this must be Lila Vajra, and then they put him in another place, another place, but like unfortunately underground and covered up and so on like that, so nobody can see, and that is what a certain practice of what is called the Father Tantra creates, that kind of body. The nails are still coming out, the hair is still coming out, and remains for thousands of years. There were thousands of that in Tibet. The Cultural Revolution just broke them down. They took the gold and everything and chopped them up and threw them away, And then there is what is called the rainbow body, Indra Chapa Kaya. Indra Chap means rainbow, and Kaya means body. Indra Chapa Kaya, where the body vanishes, into rainbow and nothing remains. And there are two levels of that, and that is the higher level. Only few, like 4 or 5 or 6 people have achieved that. One of them is Guru Rinpoche himself, Garab Dorje in that lineage, and another is Sonam Chemo in the Sakya lineage. When he was teaching, suddenly bells were heard, flowers and incense and so on, and his body vanished into rainbow light. Sonam Chemo, and that is considered the highest. A second level, there are literally hundreds of thousands of people in Tibet that went that way, and that is like the teacher tells them to encase his body in a tent, and you guys stay around chanting 24 hours and keep it like that for 7 days or 14 days, and when they open up after whatever day the teacher says, then they find that only the clothings are there, the body is vanished. But they also hear sound and music and rainbow lights coming out of the tent and so on. Normally it is said that they ask the body to be surrounded by a tent, because people, when they look at it, sounds can be quite scary, because the eyes pop out and then fizzle out, and those kind of things happen, and so it's not like everything vanishes just like that. They slowly vanishing, and the intestines come out and it'll fizzle out and so on, and that can be quite gory for people to watch. That's why it is put around a tent, That's what people say. I haven't seen one, so I don't know. So that's another type of enlightened lineage masters going, and like the second type, even from Kathog Gumba, the Kathog monastery in the border of China and Tibet, when they escaped Tibet and when the Chinese entered, they escaped, they brought the logbook from the 11th century till 1959. They brought the logbook, and the logbook shows that 125,000 people went just from that monastery alone like that. So it's not rare cases once in a while, in King Ashok's time or something like that, or maybe whatever, King Arthur's time or something like that, a time like that. And then there is what is called going to Khechar-loka. Khechar-loka is a Vajrayogini, practice specially, but other practices also. Khechar-loka, there are two types. The higher type is where the body vanishes. If the person went to Khechar-loka with the body. And the other type is where the body remains like this, for 10, 15, 20 days and so on, like the Gurus here. So these are various ways, manifestations of enlightened people and enlightened proof of enlightened lineage.